Is astrology a guide to aid us in mastering the universe? This is the Cosmic Community Podcast with Galactic Ambassador Stacey Dredd. Hey everyone, thanks for being tuned in to KPOV 88.9 FM, your high desert community radio in Bend, Oregon. I hope you're having a good day. This is Stacey Dredd, Galactic Ambassador in the Cosmic Community. That's our astrology program here live Tuesdays, 4:30 to 5 p.m., where we discuss the week's planetary and lunar influences and chat about how we may be able to live within the cycles of the universe to create a more benevolent life for all. If you need to access the archive to this program, you can do so at kpov.org. Find the Cosmic Community show page, listen to the archive there, download the KPOV app onto your smartphone, join the Galactic Ambassador Astrology Community on Facebook and YouTube, if that is a venue that you prefer, and also hear an encore broadcast of this program Saturdays at 9 a.m. Thank you so much for making time and space in your day today to receive these messages. This report is for March 19th through the 25th. And oh boy, we have a big week upon us in the astrology, and I know I'm feeling it. Happy first day of spring to those in the northern hemisphere, and happy first day of fall for those in the southern hemisphere. That's right. It's a yin and a yang all the time on our planet, and when we are experiencing one of the extremes, the other half of the planet is experiencing the other extreme. And so it's good to also recognize that this Aries Equinox for the folks in the southern hemisphere actually does signify the start of their fall. And here in the northern hemisphere, we are starting to feel the warm up, and it's just been a beautiful day today, first day of spring for sure where I live. And Happy New Year. This is actually the astrological new year when the sun moves to 0 degrees of Aries. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac and represents the start of the new cycle. And so the sun takes 365 days to get all the way around there. And at 8 p.m. tonight on the Pacific West Coast on March 19th, that is when the sun moves to 0 degrees of Aries, signifying the astrological new year, the start of the spring season, and then also the beginning of Aries. So you can see how historically, these moments really do line up, even though maybe now the calendar, and the time that we put on that, is kind of what runs our life. But before we had calendars and before we kept such track of that, we would keep track of these points that started the seasons. And so here we are at the equinox point. This is the halfway point between the winter solstice and the summer solstice. And that is a balancing point for nature. So equinox is always known as a point of balance to bring things more harmony, more peace, more of that yin to the yang. And so it's a good time to think about the last 6 months and, where we've come, even the last 12 months since it's the astrological new year. Think about the last 6 months, the last 12 months. What have been the major themes for you? What have you accomplished? It's a time of celebration also to say, wow, that was a year ago. I can't even imagine what my life would be if I was still, that thing a year ago. And then, of course, 6 months or a year from now, we cannot imagine because we just simply cannot predict the exact future. I mean, we can put our energy into one place. We can intend something to be away, but we cannot say for sure that we will know exactly where we will be in 6 months or a year. So that's a point where we sit on the fence and remember and also celebrate the things where we've come and the things that we've accomplished, but also dream and put time into dreaming about what is next and what is coming up. And so you sit on that really balanced point and say, oh yeah, I can see how this might help me moving forward, or, this would be a good thing to let go of and focus more time on. So use this, to the best, that you can, because, it's a quick time. We get these bursts of new energy, especially with Aries. The sign of Aries is a fire that gets lit underneath our you-know-whats, and we begin to want to take physical action. Aries is the sign that is ruled by the planet of Mars, and Mars is the warrior god. This is where we take steps forward and we create action. And so Aries season, always an amazing time to take first steps, to become brave, to become confident, to sort of muster up the courage and the confidence to do something or to take a step forward. Aries isn't the finishing sign. This is just the step forward. In fact, Aries energy is really good at taking first steps. And just kind of a part about Aries is that because they are so good at taking those first steps, they're not as good at following up with things and even closing things out. So at this time, we have a lot of Aries energy. We have Mercury traveling through Aries, and Mercury has begun to slow down. Mercury is the planet of our mind, of our communication, of our travel. And this is the planet that actually does the most retrograde cycles in the entire year. We get 3 to 4 Mercury retrogrades a year, and we're actually setting up for our next Mercury retrograde. And this is going to take place in the sign of Aries. So this is really going to trigger fire signs. This is going to be working in the sign of Aries. If you have planets or points in Aries, look and see what house in your birth chart that this area is going to be working on. Mercury has just entered the shadow phase. And so that means that Mercury is slowing down, but we can use this as a reference point, because we're actually going to be coming back to this. Mercury is going to move forward, and then right before leaving the sign of Aries is going to stop, station, and start moving backwards. From our vantage points here on Earth, this is an optical illusion. A retrograde planet goes back and works on things a second and a third time. So at this point, we are taking our first look when Mercury enters the shadow, or any planet enters the shadow of their retrograde. This is like the first pass at stuff. And we're going to get a second and a third pass at these things. Aries, as I mentioned, more good at doing new things, taking starts in new directions. This might actually be a little triggering for Aries people, for people that have a lot of Aries energy, people that don't work with Mars energy very well, because Mars wants to get something done, do it, move from point A to point B, and then forget about it and move to the next thing and move from point A to point B. But Aries is going to have this Mercury retrograde. So that means that we're going to be slowing down and revisiting some of this same material. So start taking some mental notes about things that we are working on, things that we are taking new starts on. And I hate to say it, but it kind of feels like Mercury retrograde in Aries, we're going to have to kind of light this fire underneath our you-know-whats multiple times over the next several weeks in order to get a project moving, to get it off the ground, to get going. So this is just hey, this is what's happening. This is what we're setting up for. So it's really good to know that this is gonna be taking place, so we can start to, like I said, take those mental notes. The other big energy that we have in the sky right now is Pisces. We are still doing a lot of finishing. Pisces is the sign before Aries, and that is the 12th sign of the zodiac. That's the last sign Pisces deals with endings. And this is where we are going to need to come to closure. And we're going to have to let go of those things that we are done with, because that Aries energy is on its way. We're going to need to have some of those new beginnings coming up. And so Pisces, it has right now housed Venus. We have Saturn and Neptune in Pisces. And come March 22nd, Mars is going to be entering the sign of Pisces and jumping into the big mystical ocean with Venus, Saturn, and Neptune. There has been a lot of closure and a lot of change and a lot of dramatic, fateful endings happening. And we are just now entering into the eclipse times. We have 2 eclipses also coming up, and this is going to be taking place in Libra and Aries. And so it's going to be a lot about relationships. There's going to be highlighted for us this axis between Aries, the self, the relationship with ourself, and Libra, other people, and pleasing other people in the relationships that we have with other people. When Mars joins these other planets in Pisces, it's going to sort of kickstart another opportunity to finalize some of these endings. Now, this is going to be propelled, only pushed along even stronger and further with these eclipses coming up. So we have, in my mind, a very intense full moon lunar eclipse coming up on the 25th of March. And this is the full moon in Libra. And this is our first eclipse in this cycle. This is our first cosmic course corrector. That is what the fated events, the destined markers of which entails eclipse energy. That is just like that. It's the course correction. So if there have been things that we have been knowing that we need to end, or phases that we need to kind of put to rest and move forward, then this Pisces energy and Mars moving into Pisces is going to give us the next opportunity to step up and take steps forward to apply some of this, to apply some of these endings, to reintegrate, to integrate and reflect on the fact that some of these endings are going to need to take place or have already taken place. This can be not super duper comfortable. Pisces is also a very emotional sign, very sensitive and very empathetic. So if there's any emotion that's being felt, Pisces is going to feel it basically 10 times more or 100 times more. They're the most sensitive. This is the most sensitive energy. So lots of different things sort of coming to head here and are really asking us to leave some things behind and take those steps to create space and make those next dreams about what's coming up. This is just in the sky this week. I mean, it's almost unavoidable. Aries is the strong energy this week because of the equinox and because the sun is moving there. And when the sun moves into a sign, that's where our main focus goes. But as I mentioned, Mars, the ruling planet of Aries, going to be moving into the mystical sign of Pisces and working within those themes. So it's almost like, a couple weeks ago, I was saying Mercury was kind of charging ahead, and Mercury went into Aries first. And so our mind sort of went first into those new beginnings. Okay, I'm starting to really understand in my mind and communicate with people around me and communicate with myself about these new beginnings, and then the sun, the next big entity to move into Aries, brings our focus there. This is going to be when we wake up every day. The sun puts our focus there. So we're going to be just like new beginnings, stepping up, being confident, being brave, being a leader. Leadership is a big fire sign energy, but definitely Aries, because they have to step up and be the instigators. They are the initiators. Aries is also a cardinal energy. And so this is where we sort of muster up that within us. We muster that up in a way that sometimes it even blows our own minds. But Mars is going to be interacting here next door in Pisces, and the Sun and Mars are going to be in this kind of little dance together. They're one sign apart, with the Sun already moved forward, the focus already moved forward, but the physical body and our heart, Venus and Mars, are still in this Pisces zone. Okay. So, Venus, she is the representative of all the feminine energy. She's also our heart and our money flow and our trust and our value systems. And Venus represents so much about just our love and the way that we love. And then Mars, the god of war. And they're going to be doing some work still in Pisces with these endings in this deep mystical ocean of emotion. And so that's all really good stuff, because we want to make sure that, we don't push ourselves to move forward too much. There's this eclipse energy also is going to bring in whatever's faded around this. The destiny markers are going to become clear, and whatever we don't do for ourselves, the eclipses do for us. And so that can be a little painful. It can be quite forceful. And with this Mars energy going to be in 12th house energy, closing everything up, it's going to be a little extra strong. So that is very powerful to me, because talking about this fiery planet of Mars diving deep into the ocean, pretty disabling of fire at all to be deep within an ocean. Okay, that puts the fire out, right? So when we talk about these elements, these elementals, we've got the fiery planet of Mars entering into a water sign. And so that is going to dumb a little bit of Mars down a bit here. It's not an easy place for the go-getter planet of Mars to be in, like a really more empathetic feminine sign. So hang with it. It's going to be several weeks. Mars takes a couple of months to get through a sign. So Venus is going to be moving forward much faster. She's going to be out of the sign of Pisces. Let's just see when she is moving out of the sign of Pisces. So she enters Aries on April 5th. And that's just a few days before our next eclipse on April 8th. And so Venus, the feminine energy, and our love and our heart going to be sort of resurfacing and joining the Aries party before the masculine energy of Mars does. So anyways, that's all stuff that we will continue to follow. But this full moon on the 25th of March, this lunar eclipse, this is taking place at 12 a.m. exactly. And this is at 5 degrees of Libra. So again, go back to your birth charts and see where that 5-degree point is as the full moon has been building. I've been feeling it. Have you? Wow. I mean, kind of feeling like a very intense one. And so, take it easy. Take care of yourself. If you feel like things are building up, remember to breathe and, drink a lot of water and just take care of yourself. Do the things that you need to do to take care of yourself, because that, again, we're working with this axis between Aries and Libra during this eclipse season. And it's all about my needs versus the needs of everyone else. So we cannot necessarily be that shining, bright, radiant light that we want to be for others without, feeding and fueling ourselves. So there is some type of learning that is going to be taking place, and it could be quite forceful. We could, come to some immediate realization about something that, we really need to do, and something that really needs to end, and something that really needs to begin. So lots of energy coming through, and continue to, take your time with it. Mercury starting to slow down. Our mind is actually going to start to not be able to do as much as fast as normal. So we want to give ourselves extra time to think, extra time to consider, and then also extra time for our mind to rest. I know today I've been actually said it a couple times already about, okay, like we came up with all those ideas and we talked about that, but let's not decide anything right now. Let's just let our subconscious just mull that over. And some amazing things can come through when you don't make immediate decisions, when you let that subconscious and figure out problems for you. It really truly can. And the Pisces energy is about that subconscious. It's about that higher consciousness. It's about the collective unconscious. And so, give yourself time to think and consider and create, but also give yourself time to rest and integrate and reflect. And by doing both those things, you've brought the yin to the yang, and you can find some more balancing points here on this equinox, the Aries Equinox. And I just wish you the very best. And I will be back next week here in the cosmic community. Thank you so much. Peace. Thank you for listening to the Cosmic Community Podcast. More can be found at kpov.org/thecosmiccommunity.